it's slightly over a year now, right? We've been running these sessions where there was a time that we didn't do for about a month. I think I traveled that period, but it's been running apart from that break, it's been running every week. So permit me to say almost every week we've been having these sessions. So what have we done? I thought it was 44. Then when I was doing it, I found out that we've had more than 44 sessions. Then I don't know how I did the counting. So I couldn't find where the counting error happened. But we've had more than 44 sessions. So ready. I'm going to give us the link of the YouTube channel, and I've sent us the PowerPoint so that, thanks, Mr. Dave, thanks. I've sent us the PowerPoint so that you can also have it, and if there's a particular part of the sessions we have done that you want to, let me look for the YouTube link. If there's a particular part of the session that you want to rewatch or you missed, this is going to help you by just clicking on the link directly in the slide. So when I go to the slides, they are clickable. If you click on the slide link, it will take you straight to the video for that session. Okay, so that can help you with. Sorry, I need to close some things on my system. Okay, so let me quickly give us that link. The YouTube recording link. Okay, so I've dumped that, and ta-da, here we are. So we start. Let me put this in full screen mode. So we started on May 25, 2020. I don't know if you see my screen, but if you see this slide here, it's showing that May 25, 2020. That was when the first session happened, and it was. So I didn't know that there is not so much you can do in 1 hour. So I loaded it. 5 different things I tried talking on. But yeah, a lot of people watched it. I think people found a lot of value in it. So we talked about, I gave a shared Pro Power BI Pro account. So I told people they can use the shared Pro account. Yeah, thanks a lot, Mr. Isaka. You're even the first to join. So I also told people how to connect Google Sheet to Power BI so that if you have stuff on Google Sheet, as you are publishing on Google Sheet, it is, as you are posting on Google Sheet, it is reflecting in your Power BI report. Also, we talked about the difference between the Power BI desktop. Not so many people know that there's Power BI desktop and there's Power BI service, and to think of them separately. Too many people kind of have that thing jungled up in their head. They don't know that there's a flow from how you start your work in Power BI desktop, progressing to Power BI service. I gave access to the practice files and we took some questions. The week after that, 1st of June 2020, so I touched on DAX formulas, calculate, filter, summarize, value, switch, and then we also did some bit on Power Query itself. Okay, and the session after that, we had a special guest, Evans, and you will want to watch his session. As you can see in bracket, I put international consultant. There's no hyping about it. It's someone who makes more of his money. He's living the dream life in terms of he's able to tap into both local and international markets. So it would be nice if you are someone who is also looking for that kind of a transition to watch his session. He did talk a bit about how he made that transition, and you might get some nuggets from him. So that's him, Evans Otalo. He's a very good pal. Then we had another special guest, the one of the who's who in Power BI in Nigeria and I think Africa as a whole. So Ahmed Oyelawo also took us through his own expert journey, explaining to us how he got into data analysis and then how he's progressed. He used to work in a bank. So his story is a bit interesting. He used to work in a bank and he was like, when they say, is this what people use there? Monkeys, like when you're just doing almost the same thing every day, there's not so much creativity to what you're doing. And so that was the kind of experience he had in the bank, and he decided to move out into the consulting space, into the solution space. So he joined the Brown, and so he talked a bit about his personal journey. I find it inspiring. A lot of people found it inspiring. Then the week after that, I took us through value proposition of Power BI. So many people do not know what Power BI is actually developed to fix. So too many people just pick it up and use it, use Excel or something else they have. Yeah, someone has a comment. Emeka, you want to say something? Okay, or you are just greeting us.
Sorry,
okay.
Sorry, good evening. I'm sorry.
Good. Yeah. Okay, maybe you are just greeting us. All right, no problem. So I touched on the value proposition of Power BI. I shared the link. That's the interesting thing. If you go on the video, so if you go on this video, you will see the link. So I'm not going to give you the link. I will rather have you go here. So you can download. There's a PowerPoint of this document, or that I presented that day. So there's a PowerPoint of it that I shared that day. So if you want to also benefit from it, then great, go open the stuff I've given us. For those just joining, let me just share it all over again. The PPT of today's slide, the PowerPoint file of today's presentation. So I've shared it again. So that was what we did for the 6th edition. And then the 7th edition, it was Power Query to the rescue. So I showed us how you can connect to as many data sources as beyond what you even imagine. I think we even did LinkedIn and one other social media type of data set. Okay, so then Microsoft Forms and Google Forms live analysis. How can you create Google Form, Microsoft Forms, and as people are filling it, it is pushing directly into your Power BI and doing the analysis on it. So there's a survey. You don't have to wait until everybody has filled the survey. You can start. Sorry, you need to drink some water and reduce the fan. Don't get away from me. So if you have a survey, you don't need to wait until everyone has filled the survey before you start working on analysis, right? With this, they can be filling the survey, and whatever they fill in is directly entering into your Power BI, and the analysis auto updating. So you can have surveys that are running continuously, and you don't have to worry about somebody remaking the analysis. So I demoed this. That was the 8th edition. The 9th one was talking about all the different ways that you can get Excel and Power BI to interact. So it's more of an eye-opening session. Then session number 10 was a deep dive into visuals in Power BI. So we decided to go into the visuals. The visuals are the things that help you create your report. So we touched about the different types of visuals, when to use which one. And so it's another session that you will find interesting. And then one of the person that was in that session, he had created a very interesting report. Let me see if I can show us what the report looks like. So I had to bring him to come demo to us, to come take us through how you can create such kind of a report, something like this.
I'm not doing anything.
So
I
you
just need past
okay. So the report you had created, right? You can pick on someone's name. Let me see if the link of the report is there. I'm not sure the link is there. You can pick on someone's name, the colors and all, they will change. So you walked us through how you can create this kind of a report, from scratch, all the things you used, the ideology, the mindset that goes into creating beautiful reports in Power BI. So this is a session that a lot of us will find really full of special tips. Okay, so let me show you. Let me go to where you click on something and it changes. See, the colors, everything changes depending on who you click on. If you click on someone who works on Power BI, it has a color yellow. If you click on someone who works on Excel, it has a color green. And so it showed us how he did all of that, and even the icons and all. So it was a very, very eye-opening one. I move on. And then the session after that was the demonstration of Power Query's amazing power. They play on the word power anyway, but that's why they call it Power Query. There's a lot it can do beyond what you do normally with Excel. In Power BI, there is no way around it. You will have to go through Power Query. But in Excel, it's optional, right? So here, I open our eyes to Power Query, some interesting things you can use it for, and then you can decide to use it in Power BI or even use it in Excel. Okay, so that's what we covered here. And then, on the 13th edition, it was on Dark Studio. Dark Studio, to be frank, if you say you know Power BI and you don't use Dark Studio, at some point people will begin to doubt your ability to your expertise in Power BI if they mention Dark Studio and you don't know Dark Studio and you've not used it. They're going to think you are just a beginner or someone who just does little few things in Power BI. Because the moment you start working really intensely in Power BI, then you will have a lot of cases where you will need to use Dark Studio. So I try to open our eyes to the functionality of Dark Studio, what you're supposed to use it for, the kind of functions it has. So you want to watch that if you fall in that category where you are new to Dark Studio. And then the session after that, we did a dedicated session for DAX, understanding DAX. DAX stands for data analytics expressions. It is the formula language in Power BI. With DAX, you create a table, new column, new measure, what the difference is between those three kinds of formulas are. And then we picked some must know DAX formulas and then spend some time on them. So this is something you will find interesting if you are new to DAX and you want to get your feet solid in data analytics, in formulas in Power BI generally. And then the week after that, we went into data flows and Power Query Online. Let me show you. In Power BI, I still even had a conversation with a client. This is a new week, right? So last week. And then, they are trying to do something that makes a lot of sense, and just to paraphrase without mentioning things that are confidential, they want to have a documentation of all the reports and what is where, which report covers what, so that people don't duplicate efforts, right? Then I explained that, there is this thing that Microsoft has already created to even go beyond just you documenting and trying to have some people police others around the not duplicating reports. You can let me go on this one. You can go to Power BI, right? And then you see this new. If you click on it, right, you will see data flow. Data flow allows you to do like a kind of data warehouse. You are taking all your reports. Forget what I said. You're connecting to all your data sets. First of all, in this central place, doing some standard cleaning, transformation, setting it to refresh maybe daily, and then what you want to make it to drive is that instead of people doing all those work again and again, this is what you give them access to. So when you create a data flow, right, then you will give people access to that data flow and say any report you want to create that is coming from SAP or coming from NAV or coming from your ERP, don't go and connect directly to the ERP anymore. Don't connect directly to the database. Connect to this data flow. Why? In this data flow, we have done some cleaning, some transformation. We have set it to refresh every day at maybe 7 a.m. So you know what? Everybody that connects to it, automatically every day your report is refreshing. You don't have to do that again. And more importantly, people, if there are 20 reports that are connecting to your NAV, your ERP, your SAP, or whatever enterprise tool you are using, people don't have to be setting different refresh that are sometimes conflicting or impacting the performance of the server. You connect from the data flow to the data source. Everybody connects to the data flow. So it's very interesting. Let me see if I have some I can show you in here. So we did some practical around it. I don't want to create new. Let's see if I go. Oh, you cannot see my screen. Okay, let me reshare the screen. Okay, what about now? Is it visible? What about now? Is it okay? Great, thanks. So apologies for that. Then I thought you saw me log into the Power BI account and all. So let me repeat that. In Power BI, we have what we call flows that allows you. Let me just go here. Close Power Query. In fact, go to Power BI from scratch. Okay. If I go to Power BI and I go to a workspace, right? Under the workspace, you will see plus. And then in this plus, you are able to say that you want to create data flow. So the moment you click on data flow, right, you're able to bring in your data from all Excel, database, enterprise software, bringing the data in here, do some transformation, set it to refresh daily, and everybody else should connect to this data flow. They should not go connecting to the original data source anymore and be setting their own refresh differently and be impacting the performance and be repeating whatever transformations you've done. They are able to inherit your work. So IT finds this very, very useful. They are able to create some intermediate aggregation of data across different systems and allow people to connect to that already pre-processed. Okay, thanks. So apologies that all of you were not seeing this my screen before. Sorry. So that's data flow. So I covered it in this session. In this session. Okay, so you might want to check it out. It's very interesting. You click on the link on the file on the slide, it will take you to the page. And then for edition 16, what we covered was Power BI Learning Box. Great. So for edition 16, we cover Power BI Learning Board. So we have a Power BI Learning Board. Let me see if I can demo it to you and even share it with you. So if I zoom in screen, if I go grab it. So we created this bot that allows you to learn Power BI in an interactive way. So if you say hi, it will reply you, hey, welcome to this amazing Power BI learning board. It is a sponsored free tool from UrBizEdge Limited. You can take their training class. This is our advert. So what DAX do you want to learn? So maybe you've been one of those persons who have been hearing about Calculate and you've never really known how it works. It still gives you some dizziness, right? You can say you want to learn Calculate. Please explain Calculate to me. And it will reply you. It says, so calculate, evaluate an expression in a modified context, blah, 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 blah. And so we are trying to add more. There's a menu that you can access, category that you can access that lets you to be able to ask questions around different aspects of Power BI. So let me just get us the link to it. I want to get the direct link. But further, let's quickly get us the direct link. So this is the link. So copy this link, and then I'm going to paste this for us. So it's on Telegram, it's on Facebook, but the Telegram one is the one I found easiest for most people because a lot more people use Telegram than they use Skype and Facebook. And if you're on Facebook, it's not to be chatting with a bot most of the time. So I explained how it works, how you can use it to overcome some of the frustrations that are there in learning Power BI, because that was why we created it. You come across a new formula, you are struggling with it. What do? You go to the bot, you just chat up the bot. You're like, I'm struggling with, there's a new formula, there's a formula treat us. How does this formula work? So if I say, how does this formula work? It replies me, oh, this is, and if I want to know more, it gives me a link for me to go to Microsoft documentation to learn more. So it's a very handy tool. I use it also, even though we are the creator. Then we add a guest in the subsequent session. Adewale Yusuf is also an MVP in Microsoft data platform, actually in Power BI specifically. So it took us on a demo on row level security. And it was a very interesting one because it demonstrated how you can create static roles where you are assigning roles specifically to people, and then how you can dynamically assign the roles to, in case you have a lot of users to assign roles to. So I learned some new things from this session. If you're interested, you can go check it out. And the one after that was with my Ghanaian superstar, like this guy is a genius, Thomas. The kinds of things he does when it comes to visualization and reports, he goes the extra mile. I give that to him. Also, we have Bernard too. I think maybe their atmosphere in Ghana allows you to be calm and take your time and do things to a very good quality level than the kind of atmosphere we have here in Nigeria. So it looks like in Nigeria we're always in a hurry. Just slap the thing together, put this, put that. But why I'm saying this is his reports are very, very well made, and he showed us how he goes about creating some of those reports. Let me show you some of the reports anyway, so you see for yourself. I'm going to. So this is one. So you can see that this is definitely not a small work, right? This is a income statement of Netflix, the financial statement of Netflix, designed from scratch up, income statement, balance sheet, and so he was taking us through some of his design strategies, how he goes about creating reports, the things he puts into consideration, all these things you are seeing, how he makes them to work. Some are tricks, some are simple things that you'll be like, wow, you mean you use this simple thing to achieve this really cool looking outcome. So he walked us, it was a very see, you started going through blank, going to the back end, seeing all that he used to achieve the outcome that looks so beautiful in the end. So that's this one. Then we had Kelechi Menike take us through Python for business intelligence. So those who have always been interested in merging Python and Power BI, you'll find this session very relevant. Okay, so after that we had by our own Dr. Francis Okoye. So Francis has a PhD in I think mathematical finance. It's one very niche area, and it's very good with predictive analytics. He works as a lecturer, as a faculty in Lagos Business School. So he took his time to walk us through integrating Python with Power BI. And the thing I like about his sessions are it comes with practical data. He's more of a do guy. He's more of a, okay, so now let's demonstrate it. Let's do it together. He's not the kind of slides person who likes just talking and talking. So that made his session really enjoyable. You're able to see him walk through. I think the predictive analysis we did was on a binary selection. I think it was a binary logistic regression kind of stuff to predict a yes or no, give or no give kind of stuff using Python in Power BI. Was it related to loans? I can't remember if it was related to maybe to give loans out or not. And it was really interesting, So if you are interested in predictive analytics, you will want to check out the session. So after that, we had a session on Power Query in Power BI. So we explored again the different things you can do with Power Query in Power BI. And Power Query is a must-know tool for anybody who is using Power BI. And nowadays, even if you are just sticking to Excel, you should have a very good understanding of Power Query. It will save you time. It will help you achieve things that probably you will have thought that VBA or programming is the only way to achieve them. So anytime you see a topic on Power BI and you are someone who works a lot in Excel or Power BI, I will say you should always try and flip through, even if you don't have time. Just breeze through to be sure that you are aware or you know that what they are talking about is something that exists, so that the day that you need to do something like that, you will know that Power Query can do this. Okay. Then after that, we had a session by Toby Williams that was on SQL and Power BI. There's an error with the video, so I'm going to re-upload this video. So unfortunately, the video is showing the video for Thomas, right? So I'm going to fix that at the end of today, but the session exists. The title, everything is correct. You will see the link. The link also too is the correct link. It's just the video attached that is wrong. And then we did our 23rd edition on the career opportunities for Power BI experts. So what are the, okay, how can one get the videos on Power Query? And let me just share the YouTube link again. You see everything I'm talking about, you can get them here on this via this link. All the video sessions videos are up on YouTube. Okay. All right. So Emeka, messaged you. I put in the chat box the answer to your question, so you can always get all those videos from that link. Okay, so what are the career opportunities for Power BI experts? And I think it has even grown since that time. Let me just try and show you some examples. So I have a job opportunity notification tied to track Power BI opportunities. So let me show you. If I go to jobs, and where is Power BI? Okay, I thought I've created something to track Power BI. Okay. Not a problem. We're going to create it together. So type Power BI and see how much opportunities pop up, right? Pre-sales, technical sales, So Microsoft is even hiring, right? And let's see. Power BI. Me, I don't care too much about Nigeria, right? So what I will do is I'll say in the country, in this place, just take out the location, right? So just say you should search without location tab. You should search globally for us. Power BI. I need to remove this. Okay. Let's put USA. Just let's even remove the developer. I think I better go to advanced search. No, I want you to see globally. So let me go here. I'm going to this thing is becoming more confusing to use. Before, I didn't have all these struggles. You could search without typing location and tell it to go for you, search globally. Okay, let's search for remote then. Okay. At least remote, you can work in those jobs while you are here in Nigeria. Okay, so see, there's a whole lot of jobs across the world that is tied to Power BI. See, in Netherlands, this is one in Netherlands. They just need 2 years work experience. Create everything is just Power BI. They are not asking you for any crazy other skills. And then, you know, there's a whole lot of Power BI projects, and this is remote. These are things you can apply for without you being in that country. And if you are good enough, or if you know Power BI, then you know you'll get to some interview stages, and you might be the final selected candidate. But there are job opportunities across the world, and this is remote. I specified remote. So for those who have always wanted to work outside the country, you don't have to wait until you leave the country before you work outside the country, before you earn foreign currency as salaries. So Power BI gives you that opportunity. Then I also talked about freelancing. So I showed people how they can plug into the freelancing space. There's a whole lot of ways to make money from your Power BI knowledge, even if you want to transition slowly. You don't want to resign your current job and still you want to monetize your Power BI skills. I tell you, there are lots of opportunities. I'm keyed into some of them personally, so I shared a lot of my own personal experience in that session. Then understanding DAX documentation by Ramon Bello. So this was another very eye-opening session where he took us through some things that we overlook, some things that some struggles that we can avoid too. So he's a senior data analyst with Paga. So they have a huge stack of data. So he was talking to us a lot from his experience and some things that people struggle with, that they do not know that Microsoft has created an easy way out. So it was really eye-opening. Even people who use Power BI already started seeing another dimension to how they can overcome some struggles they also experience. So that was this session. And then after that, we had another session that was by Ephraim Ebong. Ephraim Ebong works for a leading financial institution in Nigeria, and his story is really inspiring. So in fact, if it's just for the story, I would say you should go watch his session. The story is, his journey is towards the end. So if you don't watch the entire session before that, if you go to the session, just fast forward to the how Power BI revolutionize is the right word. Revolutionize his career for him. You know, just set him on just moved his level from like many steps at once in one jump. You know, is that what they call quantum leap? You know, gave his career a quantum leap. And so, you know, anybody who's been needing some motivation around how to, he shared his experience too about an advice to people starting in. So you want to also make sure you check that out if you think that will be useful for you. But the session was actually on fundamentals of data analytics. You know, what are those things that people overlook in their journey into data analytics, and they just want to dive into the deep end. You know, so that was a very great session we had with him. And then I did new features and resources in Power BI. This was in February, so obviously it's no longer going to be new. The new ones you will always find. So let me give you the link where you will always find where you find details of what's new. So they have this announcement, but it's better you just go straight to Power BI blog. I'm going to post it in the. So Microsoft always announce all the updates, the new stuffs in Power BI. For updates and announcements. Announce. Okay, so I've posted it, and if you check it out, you see there are some new things that have been announced recently anyway. Let me show you one really nice one. If you use Teams a lot, there is now a lot of handshake between Power BI and Teams. If you use Salesforce, now you can embed your Power BI reports in Salesforce. There's one I want to show you guys. Aha, no, we are not yet there. Do you see this? That you can now use Power BI in Jupyter Notebook. So the Python guys in the house, this is something that you will find really interesting. You know, so you can start to take advantage of Power BI right within your Jupyter Notebook. So you can create reports right inside Jupyter Notebook. What do? Pip install Power BI client. I always like doing this command. Windows D, and I go here and I go to Anaconda, and what do I do? Pip install Power BI clients. And successfully done. What's the next stage? So if you if you need to work, anyway, let's move on. But as you can see, this is Python, right? And this is something really, really interesting. You know, I was really amazed when I saw it, and I'm going to try it out. So let's move on to the next. And the next is, now I know what has gone wrong in my slides. So the next one is, we did a back to basics, where I touched on the different things as regards how to use Power BI, you know, what's the value proposition again, but also expanding more on the benefits, the right way to use Power BI. So if you think you need a recap on that, you'll find this session very instructive and helpful. Then we had one of the big persons in Power BI world, Matt Harlington, all the way from Australia on March 1, 2021. He took us through DAX as a query language, and he used DAX Studio a lot. So that's why I keep saying it's getting to a stage where if you say you are competent in Power BI and you do not use or know how to use DAX Studio, we are going to have a big question mark around that, your competence. So DAX Studio is something you should try to learn, you know, be very good with. So Matt Harlington, in case you don't know him, let me show you Matt Harlington. You probably have come across his book and some of his resources. He is the owner of Accelerator BI, and those are his books. So they've gone. You will see some of the books here again. In fact, you see the color of his website is Power BI yellow. Okay, so these are some of his books. So he had a very eye-opening session for us about using DAX as a query language. It had a bit of new and the old, you know. Then I did Power BI for Mac users. If you're a Mac user, what are your options? I put in bracket Power BI Online. That's your only option. You do not have Power BI desktop, so whatever you are doing is going to be restricted to the Power BI service. This is Power BI service. When you go to powerbi.com, you're able to do a lot. You know, that's the thing that I ended up showing people. You know, the fact that there's a lot you can do. You can create reports, you can create it from scratch, data set, do some data. It's not going to be easy to do the matchup part, but do some data insight extraction. Let me use that word. Okay, so I took us through all of that, and then we had the who is who, the Power BI God himself. Let me use that word, Marco Russo. So Marco Russo he had it in a way that spanned 2 weeks. So the first week he gave us a video that he had pre-recorded, my Power BI report, why is it slow, what should I do? And then the week after, he had a live session with us where he started walking us through, you know, what the questions we have and the things we need to be aware of. So it was a huge privilege to have him. And if you don't know Marco Russo, there is no way you can search about Power BI. If you look for Power BI too much, you start seeing him. You know, in fact, at Microsoft's internal side, the respect they give him is so much than even the respect they give some of their own colleagues, because that's how much he knows this thing and how much resources he has created. So they are the ones who run the Power BI, SQL BI. And they have the books that everybody says you must read. You know, let me show you. There's a must read. If you are learning Power BI, there's a book that Microsoft even say you must read, you know, this definitive guide to Power BI is the author, definitive guide to DAX. Okay. So it's the author of the book. There's a new edition. This book, it is like a must read book by everyone getting into Power BI. He's the author, and he came around and he we even asked him questions and he answered. Then we had another MVP, David Abu, and he took us through Power Apps. Not so many people are aware of the amazing things you can do with Power Apps without having to be a programmer, a core programmer. So they call it like low code, sometimes even no code, low code, no code. Where you are creating things that automate business processes without actually writing computer codes as much. So that was it, and I think he tried to show us how to make it and shake with Power BI, but it was a lot more around the Power Apps themselves. So that's something you want to check out if you would like to also create things that will automate workflows. And then we had another popular person, someone who is just awesome when it comes to visualization, Red Evans, and he took us through visualization, the visualization magic in the age of numbers and science. So it showed us some of his common tricks to visualization, things to watch out for, how to properly present your report in a way that people can get the insight from, and how to go about visualization. It showed us some tricks too. So it was a very interesting session. Okay, so after that, we did a talk around the exam, the certification exam, this DA 100. So I shared how I passed the exam. Ahmed also too shared how he passed the exam, what he advises people who are doing the exam to watch out for. So it was more of a me and Ahmed sharing a lot of insights, from our experience doing the exam, training people for the exam and all. So if you're interested in the exam, registering and doing the exam, you will find some of the tips and tricks we shared here to be useful. Okay, then we had again Thomas Festus Kojo, and this time around he decided to show us Power BI and Excel together. It was mind-blowing. This guy is a genius. That's just it. There's no way to try to explain it. Let me see if I can show you some of the things he did in Excel. And then I think he showed us how to replicate in Power BI too, but let me show you. See, this is Excel. There's the black version. Let me look for. So he had the dark, then he had the light version. See this report, huh? Did it in Excel. This we are looking at is Excel. So it's really amazing how he goes about creating very good looking reports, and this is Excel, this is not Power BI. And then he showed us, I think he showed us also the dark version. Let me see. Okay, see, so this is the dark version of the same report. So if you're interested in taking your Excel skills to that height, you want to watch this session. Then I did another session on DAX, much more focusing on helping people overcome the problems and on like removing the bottlenecks you find you typically come across as you start improving yourself in DAX. So it's a normal thing to experience. So I was trying to show people how to overcome them, the design pattern that you need to have in mind when you are working with DAX. Okay, so that's one too. Again, we had David Abu, and it was on Power Query. The title is Stop Repeating Data Cleanup Processes Tasks. Use Power Query to automate those cleanup tasks. So it was something also very interesting. Then we had Sam Fisher all the way from Australia, and he did advanced cohort analysis techniques with Power BI. So he walked us through. Let me try and show you what he walked us through. I don't know if you know what cohort analysis is. It's very common in software as a service company where you are doing a subscription based on service and all. So you want to see customers that came in last month in January, how did they purchase, how did they do for the next 4 months, you know, separately from those that came in February and all of that. So that's called cohort analysis. And then he did his heat map. So he showed us a lot of interesting tricks, you know, and you'll find it useful. And it was the pace was good. It wasn't rushing us and it was waiting for us to catch up. So it was really enjoyable. Then we had Kazim Adigboyega, and he's now an MVP. He took us through Azure monitoring the essentials, and so many people were lost at some point, but it was Azure actually. So not so many people who had some Azure understanding could follow along. But what he showed us were things that if you use Azure, you want to be aware of. Even for me that I don't use Azure heavily, the little aspect of Azure I used, you know, his session opened my eyes so I can save costs, how I can track things, and then how I can even bring the data into the Power BI or Excel that I'm familiar with. Okay, so that was one of the highlights of his sessions, and if you are interested in that, you should go check it out. Then we had another session that was on list, record, and table in Power Query. These are the building blocks of Power Query. So I explained what list is, what a record is, what a table is, and how to use them to achieve some really cool features, effects in your Power BI report. And then we had again Ahmed Uilowo, and this session was on parameters in Power Query. I think Ahmed loves parameters. Now, I've been going through some of his other content and I've been noticing him mentioning parameters again and again. And I can agree to the fact that they are very important, and maybe that's why he mentioned them. He mentions them repeatedly. So if you don't know how to use parameters, you know, this is a wake-up call for you to go learn it. It is a very critical aspect of Power BI when you start working on live project, on client work. There's a project I'm on right now that I'm using parameters to switch the source from one place to the other. Okay, I maybe did it first of all on my computer, and then I want to switch it to the cloud source so that the thing can be picking live data. I am using Power Queries parameter. Okay, so that's it. It's a session you want to be aware, or I mean to watch if you don't know parameters. Then we had Muhammad Kashif all the way from Pakistan, and he did dashboard design, you know, focusing more on X or management staff. When you are creating reports for management staff, how do you go about it? How do you do your dashboards? How do you do your dashboard design? How do you lay out the visuals to communicate the important information? You know, so it was a whole lot about thinking in the right way, a whole lot about understanding the ways to create reports that drive management decisions, and it showed us some tricks also too in report creation, how to make some things pop up in a way that is not just ordinary anymore, that has some sophistication to it in your report. So your report is no longer looking bland, they are more interactive and look like a lot more well-built report. So from there, I did a session on Power Automate. This is, as you can see, it's June 16th, so it's this same month, 2 weeks ago, or was it 3 weeks ago? 16 should be 3 weeks ago, right? I have my days really messed up. The dates are messed up in this stuff. So should you care about Power Automate? Yes, the answer is yes, but then I was trying to prove to you why you should care about Power Automate. I don't know if you are aware that there's a Power Automate also in our computer as desktop. So we have the web one, we also have the desktop. With the desktop, you can automate activities on your computer. So Power Automate on the web. So if you go to Power Automate, you can also see what you can create. But more importantly, I showed us that there is now also a desktop version. Okay, so the desktop version allows you to do even more. Power Automate on the desktop. So instead of you just automating web stuff, you can automate things right there on your computer. Okay, and if I go here, you see the number of things I can automate. Okay, so it's coming up. I'll move on anyway. I wanted to show you the kind of things you can automate. Okay, great. That's open. So you can automate, your emails, file, something you want to open a file, copy a file, read a file, system activities like run a command, open an application, there's a whole lot. Excel, you can launch, open a file, run a VBA, email, retrieve an email, send an email, everything happening automatically as you have programmed it, without you being there. So that's something very, very useful and novel with Power Automate, the Power Automate desktop. So after that, I talked about building a complete Power BI reports in one. Power BI report in 1 hour. So we did from scratch, raw data and all to the end in 1 hour. And this is strange. Oh, I think I know why. They published the videos late. So that's why the dates looked messed up, right? So this was the last week session where we did setting up sample database in Power BI using. I walked us through how to create SQL database, access some sample database to use, and then AdventureWorks, I recommended that. Then I also show us how to do on MySQL database in case that's the one you have or you prefer to use. So they are all easy to use, and that's the end. Any questions? Any questions from anyone as we wrap up the session? So you see, it's been a long journey. Imagine you've been joining these sessions. That's 45 hours. 45 hours, even our class training. Our class training runs 9 to 5. You have breaks. 9 to 5 is 9 hours, right? 1 hour break, that's 8 hours. Another like 30, 40 minutes break, that's like 7.5 hours. So let's just say maybe you come late or questions, and let's say 7 hours, right? 7 hours times 3 days, that's 21 hours. It's less than the amount of time you would have gained, you'll have spent in these our webinar sessions. That so many people do not know when we try to explain to them that when you do our training, that we don't leave you, abandon you, we support you continuously. You came for a 3-day training, and then every week we are exposing you to something new. We send you practice files. We have a community where you can ask questions. We just make you like immersion. Imagine you are learning a language and you are immersed in the midst of people doing stuff with it, not just on a 3 days intensive period, but like spaced out also too, so that you're continuously being aware of what's new, aware of what people are doing with it, trying one thing at a time. That way the knowledge sticks more, and you are able to do more with it, and you are never ever behind the curve. So in essence, let me use that to say, if you have not done our training, and you're interested in the things we do training on, maybe with those few things I've said, you should consider us. You should go check us out, and any training you do with us, just know that what you are paying for is the assurance of knowing that thing. Is not just that you're paying for a 2 days or 3 days or 4 days class. you are paying that, at the end of the training, you will not need to pay for another training in that space. If you are using all the resources, taking advantage of all the things we connect you with, the weekly tasks, the weekly sessions, the support group, right? So check us out. Any questions for your data analysis training? Okay, apology for my typo. I'm not seeing the screen correctly. So thank you very, very much. It's already 7 o'clock. Even I'm feeling sleepy. I went to the hospital yesterday, and part of the drugs they gave me makes me feel a bit sleepy. I have cold, and you will notice at the point I was almost sneezing into the mic. But thank you very, very much, and I hope to see us again next week. Have a very great week ahead. Bye to everybody. Bye.